But I differ a bit from the current government in the sense that, you know, I respect the important constituencies the smaller parties represent. And I also respect that we compete with them for votes too. I don't think under MMP the smaller parties should call all of the shots. You know, I still think that the bigger parties have a mandate to reflect the view of a much larger section of the electorate. And so I do think under MMP you need to kind of keep proportionality in mind. Yes, there should be some concessions and some trade-offs to the other parties in order to form government. But that doesn't mean that you should be doing things that you specifically told the electorate before the election that you weren't going to do.
Like the
Yeah, but the problem with that, Chippy, is if that's a must-do to get into power, then what do you do? We've seen it work very badly for Luxon, but if a minor party goes, well, we're not going to, this is the only thing we promised we would do. This is another reason you don't want to be shitting on your potential coalition partners and their policies, because if you get into a butting heads, someone's going to lose, someone's going to look foolish, and someone's supporters are going to be pissy. It's actually there's a bit of a tightrope there.
You'd be doing things that you specifically told the electorate before the election that you weren't going to do.
Like the Treaties Principle.
The Treaty Principles Bill is a good example. The Regulatory Standards Bill, you know, some of these things that no one knew they were voting for at the last election and now they're being inflicted on them. I don't think that's the spirit of MMP or democracy. I think, you know, the majority should still rule in a democracy, and at the moment that's not happening. We're currently being ruled by a minority, a small minority, and I don't think that's what New Zealanders voted for.
Yeah, but I also think that this is a hard thing to say. If we're supposed to, you know, rule by majority, cool. No one's got majority. National didn't get majority. They got the largest slice of the pie. So if we're ruling by majority, it is kind of ruling by block. Only one party ever has had a majority under MMP, and that was Labor through COVID. So if what Chippy's saying is ruling by majority, sure, the majority is the left block or the right block, because Labor won't have a majority, National won't have a majority. So then what?
I think what Chippy's saying here is very good. Like, I don't have any criticisms of it really, but I think if our current government was acting like Chris is saying here, that they were acting with proportionality, because in a mirror universe, Christopher Luxon can negotiate good, which is not what we have in our universe. You know, we wouldn't have these ultra divisive policies. Yeah, like, true. We would still have stuff like all of the social housing being cancelled and emergency housing being cancelled. We would still have bad stuff, but I don't think we would have nearly as much racially charged stuff, because that is clearly coming from ACT. A little bit from New Zealand First. The anti-trans stuff is coming from New Zealand First, and it's all being front loaded, right? But I think National is more in the middle and knows that this stuff is a run straight into a hiding. But the absolute lack of leadership, the hands-off sort of delegations to other party leaders, other party policy, and just throwing it away and go, well, that's a coalition for you. Like, that's the aspect of it.
It is.
And I think what I want is basically a reversal. Greens to Party Māori, Labour, and Greens and Te Pāti Māori just yanking Labour to the left, as hard as they can.
But that means that's not doing what Chippy just said, because that's the minor party.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's what I want. Now, is that massive seismic shift from right to left, or vice versa, is that good for the country? No, it's probably not, because everyone's head would be spinning.
The thing that's really interesting about this kind of game of politics is those negotiations after a election. It's a game of poker. And I mean, we already heard that Luxon folded his hand incredibly quickly to ACT, because ACT both said and Luxon never corrected it. Yep. That the Treaty Principles Bill wasn't a bottom line. So they never got to the point of negotiations where someone was going to have to blink. So I wonder two things, right? I wonder if you had a decent negotiator, Luxon is obviously not one of them. And that's not me taking the piss. That's just based on what we know about the negotiations for this government, what would happen. Or two, that if a minor party did actually dig their heels in, and these guys didn't because Luxon folded, and a minor party went, nope, if you want to be government, I want this, what would happen? Now, it's not a commentary on good, bad, or indifferent. I'd just be interested to know how that would work, if it would work. Like if the Greens, for example, said, we want Chloe to be Deputy Prime Minister, and we're non-negotiable on that, what are they going to do? And if Luxon said, Hipkins said that's never going to happen, and they went, well, we've never really been in cabinet, it's time. We want half the cabinet seats. Whatever it is. I'm just interested to know how that would work.
And look, I think the other aspect here is, say in that example, both of those left bloc parties have been in positions before of going, okay, well, if we're not going to get any meaningful policy across the door, we're quite happy to do supply and demand.
Supply and confidence, yeah.
So, yeah, supply and confidence. So if they get to that position next year in a crushing and an inevitable victory, I think the negotiating space is going to be really good. First of all, I think Chris Hipkins is probably a better negotiator than Luxon is.
Much to the chagrin of Luxon's ego.
Second of all, he's going to be massively outnumbered going up against two groups of co-leaders.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
Chloe,
4 against
Marama,
1.
yeah. Debbie.
4 against 1. Yeah.
Oh, God, what is his name?
Rawiri.
Yeah. So, look, if nothing else, it'd be interesting. But, look, I think there's more spine in the left bloc than there is in the right at this point. And I think that is going to be, look, the current government held up the left bloc as a coalition of chaos. And, like, it is every time, every accusation is an admission. So we've seen chaos. I don't think the left bloc would be chaos.
We've seen chaos.
What needs to be done.
David be thy name.